Vår första talare idag pratade med för en liten stund sedan och blev mycket imponerad. Hon är från Tyskland. Hon bodde här i Sverige för 11 år sedan under endast 15 månader. Men det hindrar inte henne för att fortfarande prata svenska. Varmt välkommen Selina Heinrich. Välkommen Selina. Hej! Tänk att du kommer ihåg svenska så bra.
Jo, lite i alla fall.
Ja, men du ska hålla föredraget på engelska.
Jo, alltså jag ska hålla föredraget på engelska så att alla förstår det mesta. Men ibland är det så att den engelska rätt eller laglig sak för stadsutveckling är lite annorlunda än den tyska och annorlunda än den svenska sätt att göra saker. Så ibland försöker jag att förklara vissa saker på svenska. Men ni kan fråga på svenska eller på engelska eller på tyska och jag försöker att svara på alla frågor.
Perfekt. Du är då en geograf ifrån sydvästra Tyskland utanför Stuttgart.
Ja.
Vad heter det du kommer ifrån?
Tübingen är den lilla stan jag kommer från.
Och där representerar du både näringsliv och kommunen. Kan du försöka förklara?
Jo, alltså det är så att vi började med den speciella sätt av stadsutveckling i Tübingen av den kommunala sidan. Men under tid har vi utvecklat en sätt att man behöver en företag. Och jag är nu anställd vid en företag som är en kommunal dotter, kan man säga så? Ja. Och jag jobbar på båda sidor, alltså på projektutveckling, stadsutveckling och samtidigt också i näringslivskontor för att hjälpa startups och sånt.
Nu ska det handla om bygggemenskap.
Just det, det var ett fördjupningsämne idag, men jag vill också förklara lite om vad är Tübingen och vad gör vi där egentligen.
Varsågod.
Ja, tack. Ja, man ser presentationen redan. Ja, mina damer och herrar, jag är jätteglad att ni är här och att ni vill lyssna vad jag har att säga. Thank you for the kind invitation to Stockholm and this Ecoforum conference today. I will talk about our way in Tübingen to develop small parceled mixed-use quarters and how we do it. The most important focus today is, this is the English title, the municipality-led development with extensive user participation. This is our most important aim, and I would like to give you a short outline of the principle of the first aims, also how we started it in 1993, the municipality-led process, how we organize it, how we organize the development, and to focus in special on the actors, the third part, who builds the city, who do we need to be successful? Because it's not enough that just the community says, oh, we would like to, we need a lot of more actors who take part. In the whole process, the civic participation is very important, as it was and is important. And today I will focus on the kind we work with Byggemenskap, as the private social cooperatives. I will explain what we understand under this later. Then the Alte Weberei is an example of one quarter we have almost finished. We will hand over the quarter to the residents when the construction of the public space is finished next spring. But this is really very short. Our running project is the marketing of the Güterbahnhof, a project we organized with the Aurelis Real Estate. It's a daughter of the Deutsche Bahn, the Tysk Järnvägen. And what we learned during the whole process is that with each project some things change, but the idea of the variety and the idea of participation, this stays. So, where are we today? Tübingen is situated in southwest Germany, so 40 kilometers south of Stuttgart. And Tübingen's economic strength is dominated by the university, the medical centers, with the international neuroclinics and the central administration. So we have a little bit industry, yes, but it's not the most important part. With around 25,000 students of the 86,000 inhabitants and a lot of research and teaching staff, the population is therefore above average well educated. And in general, this is the only difference I can see from the population in Tübingen and the rest of Germany. So there's no special kind of tubes or something. which is sometimes estimated if I'm finished with this. Tübingen is surrounded by lovely landscape with different types of reserve areas. Therefore, the growth of the city was for decades stunned behind its needs. The result is a comparably expensive rental apartment market and high demand for ground. If you look at the costs for a square meter, Tübingen comes directly after Munich in whole Germany. So it's really expensive there. So, but what happened? This is a wonderful view of the Neckar Bridge. Tübingen was part of the French military zone. With the end of the Cold War, the French military left Tübingen and left a historical unique amount of space behind. The 65-hectare total size with old company buildings. You see this orange area here. This is in the south of Tübingen, and it's 65 hectares. Big. The city saw the chance, bought the ground, and led the whole development as coordinator of the process. This is when we started in 1990s. This was possible because of a new law, the Urban Development Zone. This law, the Urban Development Zone, allowed the city to force the ground owner, the federal state in this case, to sell the plot for the undeveloped price. This was the point where we could start to test something. Nowadays, we do not use this law anymore. The Alte Weberei or the Güterbahnhof, for example, are developed without this legal status with normal market prices. But for the beginning, it was good to have it. Inspired by the old city center of Tübingen, the idea of small parceled, mixed-use quarters as a new construction emerged. We had a big civic participation, discussions, different kind of groups who were interested in how should the city look like for older people, for younger people, for women, for working people, for all this. And this all came together in the 1993 to 1996. The old buildings were reduced directly. The first new buildings were finished in 1996. Nowadays, 40,000 inhabitants are living there and 1,200 people work in the urban development area. So the orange area. So what were the goals of the urban development area? In German we call this Städtebaulicher Entwicklungsbereich, Stuttgarter Straße and Französisches Viertel. And it's the whole yellow part now we are talking about. The first goal was to renew and improve the southern part of the city, where all the not good-looking parts of the city were placed. 2 federal highways, big markets, a gas power station, or the stuff nobody wants to see, actually. The second goal was to develop a development of used grounds instead of greenfield development. And to have new urban neighborhoods instead of monofunctional residential areas. So the vertical mixture was very important. All these aims were outlined in an urban competition, and the combined results were transferred into a master plan, with specific goals. So now we have a whole book called Rahmenplan. It's a framework of all this much more specific goals. So here you see the model of the result of the competition. The master plan from 1993 shows the 2 big highways dividing the city. I don't know if you see the red dot, but here and there, and it's the most traffic you can have in whole Baden-Württemberg. The old building structure, the white ones, you see here the old barracks, this direction, and the new block structure in brown. The high density and quite large blocks which could be parceled out. As you see that here's the old buildings or older buildings, and here you see it's much more dense than here in the other parts. So, the most visited quarters of the whole development are the French Quarter and the Loreto. Here you see an old picture of the French Quarter. It was in 1999, it was looking like this. You see the big buildings which are still there and a lot of things which you don't see anymore. And here's the Pferdestelle. I don't know what's this in English. Yeah. Important for today is that we have different scales of public spaces, small ones, bigger ones, half private, inner courtyards. And so we had different scales of small and big public spaces, and we organized the people to take care about it, to participate in constructing it and design it. So, the urban elements of the structure. What were the goals exactly? Let me briefly outline the principles and elements of the urban structure. So the conclusion of the conclusion of the conclusion is this now. We have the small parcel mixed use developing, so that means vertical. The social and cultural infrastructure, high urban density and the use of old buildings. Plot division and parceling out, which fit commercial developers, byggemenskaper, also the private building cooperatives, as well as cooperatives, syndicates, single-person investors. So it's a whole range of actors we have in the apartment market. Fifth, the integration and the social mixture, the very small-scaled social mixture. Sixth, the public space and traffic, and above everything, the civic participation. So we do a lot of information, roundtables, not elected neighborhood committees, to structure the whole process, and we tell them where they can make decision, and we inform them where they can participate and where everything is already fixed. So we do a lot of communication in that part. So, looking at the time, I would like to outline just a few issues more deeply. The small-scaled mixed-use developing. What do we mean with that? The ground floor has to be used for shops, trade, business, crafts, products, social and cultural infrastructure. In the French Quarter, it was fixed all over the place. In the quarters we develop today, it's important for the main ways through the quarter, but not for the neighborhood in the smaller streets, but it's a plus point if you want to get a plot. So if you come with a craft, with a business, with a cultural idea, you perhaps get the plot easier. On each lot, you have people living and working. So working in the first floor, living on the upper floors. So we have a vertical diversity on each lot. And the idea of the city of short distances is included in here. The high urban density and the integration of old buildings. Here you see examples for old buildings mixed with new buildings. And this means we have a very, it differs if you look around. It looks like being much more older than it is instead. We increased the density to reduce the impact on greenfield land use. That? Here. That means there's an offer for affordable housing because it's so dense. We're creating an urban atmosphere with compact houses which supports the good energy balance and the good use of technical, social, and all the other infrastructure. And we have mixed age groups there in the quarter which use the social infrastructure sustainable. So, okay. Next point, public space and traffic strategy. The streets are barely used for parking, but are used as shared urban living rooms. So the cars are peripherally parked and more centralized. That means that they're not, we have parking places on the street, but it's not the place where the most cars stand around. The public transportation system is much used and technically, economically and structurally effective for everybody, like the well-used car-sharing system we have there. There's a lot of civic participation for the creation of the public space. The result out of these intensive participation processes show more qualities for all the different requirements of the people who will live there, and actually, vandalism today, 25 years later, is still less a problem than in other quarters. We use roundtable with stakeholders. We use the instrument of a forum with the future inhabitants, so a group of people who are interested in, for example, public space design. And we talk with political elected people. Yes, it is in Tübingen there as well, so as everywhere else, that the elected people in the Stadtrat or the city municipality, they have to decide, but they have a much better fundament for their decision if they know what all the people who should use it later think about it. So they're really interested in what they think and what they like. So then, plot division and parcelization, very important, especially if you think as a city, as a municipality, how can somebody design a master plan which includes all these different goals and aspects and needs? After the master plan, we break down the planning process to the local plan or development plan. We call in German Bebauungsplan, and it has a legal character. This is just a sketch, this is not the Bebauungsplan. But we do not fix plot sizes. The concept is to offer individual big slices of a block or a row. So this is the first plan for the marketing. You see, we have fixed heights for different parts, but if you want to have, I don't know, 20 meters building, square 40 meters or 12 meters, you can just say, I would like to have this piece. And then we try to, if it fits with all the others' needs, then we have this here as a result. A big one, a small one, a bigger one, a very big one, then different styles. And the same thing here. This is a big developer who organized the underground parking. This is why he has a bigger piece, a bigger house. And here you have row houses, for example. So, but this was not fixed in beforehand. He was just, somebody can build 2 floors and a roof, and in this area. So this was the approximation. Oh. This is the result now at the end. You see here the picture with all the different heights and all the different styles, and you see who got in the end which big size. The prices for the ground are fixed beforehand. There's an average price for the whole area with adjustments for the single piece of land after the positive or negative aspects for the single plot. For example, if there's a good solar place where you can build a passive house, for example, then this might be a little bit more expensive than a north-orientated plot, for example. We do have a commission that balances the criteria of the applicants and decides which actor or group gets the option for a plot. The commission slices the pieces according to the needs of the groups with the best concepts. There are different criteria for a good concept, like social aspects, financial security, a concept with special architecture or ecological or energetic aims, the group dynamic, and so on. Social aspects could be, for example, on the one hand, be a family with more than 4 kids, because in Tübingen you will never get a flat with more than 6 rooms. So they have a special need, and this is socially important that they have a place. On the other side, perhaps if you have older people who want to live in a shared house where you have private areas and gemensamma område, also shared space in the same house, then this is a plus point as well. And if we put them together, we have a variety of young people and of old people and of a lot of different aspects. So, you have heard about the determining factors and civic participation. Now, who builds the city? There was the idea of the private building cooperative, but in fact, it was just a solution for a problem we had. It was not the main goal. So for me, it's just a private building cooperative, or we talk about byggemenskaper, it's more precise. This is just an instrument to come to a goal, to come to something else, what is in the mind. And this can be different from town to town. So I always try to structure things, and normally our information events look the same, like we're looking now here. They're all single persons, and I have no idea who is sitting there. Our borgmästare, he always asks, oh, who is who? And then the people have to raise their hands, and then he can estimate something. But for me, it's easier to make it like this. We talk about groups or clusters. And the easiest one is of those actors we need for the whole development is the group A. It's the yellow one here. I subsumize their architects, group coordinators, group managers, service providers, coordinators, and all the other professionals. They have trained skills and exams to run their job. What they learn while the process with byggemenskaper is to organize the group process, the discussion culture, and the ways decisions are made in a group, when not one person is deciding, but a whole group is deciding. And this is always new for those architects who start new with byggemenskapers. Then, next easy group is Group C, the red one. This is the city of Tübingen, the municipality, and the subsidiary company, also my company, for example, the one I work for. And we formed this actor with the development of the Mühlenviertel, so in 2004. A communal but private company is this. The Commercial Development Support Company, I think it's Kommunal Näringslivskontor med stadsutvecklingsuppdrag på svenska, jag är inte helt säker, with the business domain project development. This is the company I work for, and we are 99% subsidiary company of the University Town of Tübingen. So we are controlled and checked by the same people who control and check the things which happen at the city, for the city. We buy wasteland areas, restructure them, and sell lots to private building corporates, as byggemenskaper, and other commercial developers. And we do, for example, reorganize the polluted areas. Mostly we use areas where the free market was not able to activate for 7 years, 15 years, it depends. The priority is for the structural, not for the economical goals. We use area with the market, I've got always said it. So we take the risk and we calculate with barely any monetary profit. So the political idea is that we have at the end a green zero. We don't have to make profit with that. The profit for the city is that we have more residents, more businesses, that the structure is sustainable, and that the city can grow inside. So, but now, third group. The group B, the green one. This is the group I will call like byggemenskaper, but we have a variety of different group characters in there. So with byggemenskaper, we use the term. We are talking about families, single persons, friends, neighbors, small companies incorporated in a group to construct a building. So it's a temporary organization form. They plan and build in own responsibility and consult or hire the professional services like architects and so on, lawyers, skilled manual workers. There are a large range of different byggemenskapers, but the goal to reach with the instrument of the byggemenskapers are the same. Mostly they want to have a high quality for living, low costs, and special custom-made results, so they can have a wish, a dream, and they can realize it. They have partly a high ambition for the society, high ambitions for the society with social and cultural claim, and the end result is a high identification with the result. The apartment, the neighborhood, the quarter, my piece of town, my place, I'm a little bit able to design. Oh, we have that, we have that. So, the beginning of a building cooperative, because the people come to us and say, oh, I'm interested, I want to have an apartment, I'm interested in byggemenskapers, but I don't know, what shall I do first? So this is a sketch about what should happen during the process. The beginning of a building cooperative is an idea which grows into a concept. The interest group's first step is to do the marketing, to become filled with members and to agree about the whole concept. So a single person starts to talk to another single person, and we help them to come together, to meet, to greet, to just get to know each other, to change telephone numbers. There's a place, an analog thing. You can have a look in our offices where you can find other persons and their numbers and their email addresses so that they can become a group They can talk to each other and define, oh, I would like to build with this person, but not with that one, perhaps. So they are forming. Forming is the first step for the interest group. Then they apply for a plot. If they receive an option, they establish the planning cooperative and hire an architect. So the first step is nobody has to take money in the hand. You just draw a sketch. You have perhaps 2 sides beskrivning. Also man just explain what is the concept, what is the main idea for this group, why are we together, and what we want to do. And if you have an option, then you pay an architect to make this become 3-dimensional and real. The byggemenskap buys the plot, and then it or the hired project manager organize the construction time. They make a contract between each other and the architects. Often, it is a company constructed under civic law. In German, it's a Gesellschaft bürgerlichen Rechts. But it can be as well another associate cooperative, for example, a Genossenschaft. So the legal form is not the important thing. The important thing is that individual people find together and decide we want to do something. If the building is completed, the final settlement and the calculation is closed. The company constituted under civic law is transferred to a homeowner community. So next step, private building, homeowner community, genau. So you see, the legal result is the same as if a commercial developer would have developed something and sold the apartment to private people. But with byggemenskaper, we do have several qualities we do not reach yet with other actors. That's why I am really in that we still offer byggemenskapers plots in Tübingen. So, we have 4 advantages I will name. There are perhaps a lot of more ones. First, comparatively low costs. Second, early involvement and good sense of identification, great diversity of design and structural approach, high social mix. So comparatively low costs means it is 15 to 20% cheaper to build in a byggemenskap than to buy the same standard from a professional developer for a fixed price. There is, on the one hand, the tax you have to pay twice, and you have to pay for the risk, yeah, and you have the possibility to work on your own. So today we have good resale prices. For 10 years, the city, in the French Quarter, for 10 years, the city had the pre-intention as the threat to buy first if somebody wants to resell it after a very short time. Then the early involvement and good sense of identification. The future inhabitant has the possibility to realize their idea of a piece of town. The solutions have a wide variety. So the people become actors in the network who articulate their wishes and needs to bring their own solutions and input. I have to make it a little bit shorter. The great diversity of design and structural approach is a very good goal, in my opinion. So in the 1990s, we have a lot of byggemenskaper with all aspects in one concept, like pioneers who wanted to make really a better world with a lot of aspects. Nowadays, we have a variety of aspects, like low-budget projects for young families, zero-energy buildings for passive house, small city houses, multi-generation projects, things like this. And one of the critical points is, but then you have a neighborhood where only people live who can buy an apartment. This is not the whole society. But beforehand, the criteria is but the result shows that we have a high social mixture, mutually economically and social. You can find high-priced penthouse apartments, affordable, compact or barrier-free apartments in the same building, using the same staircase, which would not be possible with a private developer. And when the variety is so wide, the strangers are no aliens anymore, and everybody is whole of the part. Disadvantages. Because nowadays, still in Tübingen, we have just byggemenskaper. Some are successful on places the community sells, or we sell. We give the applicant 6-month option time for a plot. This time should be used to organize with an architect the sketches for the house, to coordinate the financing procedure with the bank, to fill up the group, and to formulate a group contract. If all these points are concrete enough, then we sell the plot to the future owners of the apartments. The individuality to each project brings a lot of coordination effort, especially the communication between direct neighbors or the underground parking and the houses which are built on the top of it. And this is why we are a team with 5 people to organize this and structure this. Not always at the same project, but sometimes we need this. So, the building with the actors, the picture with the actors again. The most important thing between these actor group is the flow of information. The city has to communicate what they plan and how someone can participate. The architects have to coordinate a transparent process, and the house builders has to be able to understand everything to make decisions and organize the next step. You have to remember that with every development, you gain knowledge on the side of the community, the architects, but the private people are always new ones. And those are important ones to drive the development, so they have to know about how it works. So we have a lot of end and beginning workshops with the expert to reorganize and make a better process, and very often information evenings and roundtables with the real people. So now I'm a little bit behind the time, but I think you will see the presentation on the internet afterwards. So perhaps you can read something. I will just skip now. This is again a little bit what every group has to do. I explained the most things again. This is now the time scale, because mostly the criteria say, oh, but if we have an option time for half a year, then it costs too much time. This is money. But we start, the important thing is that we start here with the marketing already here before anything is fixed on the legal side. So the interest group can form beforehand. And so the process is running side by side, and the end result is, I don't think that we are much slower with this kind of process, but we start very early with the people. So, talked about that. One last point. Yeah, the Alte Weberei, the idea was that we have, some of you may understand a little bit German, so there is a lot of explanations, how it runs, how it works. This is our last project, we have hardly finished it. The goals were approximately the same. The structure was very, you see it, small parcel here, bigger structures there, and the result is finished this summer. Experience and conclusion. Last second. Our experience with Byggemenskaper is so good that we spread this kind of development and civic participation over the whole city. But still today we must declare that for a successful private building cooperative, the owner of the ground was the city of Tübingen or her daughter, because we have possibilities to give them the time they need. Otherwise, I know very little successful Byggemeinskapers. Then you have to go to Hamburg or Berlin or Karlsruhe, where you can find this example. I told you so much about Tübingen that you can see we have a possibility and an aim. Or we had a possibility and an aim. Those who were in responsibility before my generation took over tried to find a way to come to a good solution, because at that time the normal actors on the market, together with the old instrument, were not successful to fulfill the aims. So we imported the Byggemenskaps idea as a very valuable and useful instrument to achieve the high ambitions. They have many structural advantages, but only combined with a special aim for society, variety for the city, or a social aspect concept. There is a real plus factor in the organization, the possibility for Byggemenskaper to participate in the competition for a plot. Thank you very much for your time and your attention.
Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Och har du några frågor till Sirén, så du är kvar i pausen?
Ja, jag är kvar hela dagen, och jag skulle bara säga en sak till. Det finns en gruppresa för Byggemenskaper i maj, och den tysk-svensk handelskammer organiserade, och de finns där ute, och man kan gå dit och registrera att man vill ha informationer. Så om ni vill veta mer, kom jättegärna till Tübingen och Freiburg, och nu lämnar jag.
Tack och lycka till. Tack.